Good evening. The regular meeting for the Milton Board of Zoning Appeals for Tuesday, October 17th, 2023 has been called to order. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 3 on this evening's agenda is introduction of board members, starting to my left.
Adam Dinella,
Hodge Patel
Don Kurtz.
David Jackson.
and Laura Bentley is possibly stuck in traffic, so she may be joining us shortly, but we do have a quorum. And Zach Stafford and Billy Carmen will not be in attendance this evening. Item 4 on this evening's agenda is approval of the agenda. I'll seek a motion and a second to approve tonight's meeting agenda as published by the City of Milton.
Make a motion to approve. Second.
Got a motion from David Jackson and a second from Adam Dinella. Is there any discussion? Seeing that there's no discussion, I'll call for a vote to approve tonight's meeting agenda as published by the City of Milton. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Item 5 on this evening's agenda is approval of the past meeting minutes. I'll seek a motion to approve the September 19th, 2023 meeting minutes as published by the City of Milton.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from September 19th, 2023.
I'll second.
Get a motion from Don Kurt and a second by David Jackson to approve the September 19th, 2023 meeting minutes as published by the City of Milton. Is there any discussion? Seeing that there's no discussion, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously. For the record, Laura Bentley has joined us.
Yes, I'm sorry.
You want to just acknowledge?
Yes, I'm here. Laura Bentley is here.
Okay.
Sorry.
No worries.
Traffic.
We're just getting into the primary considerations. Item 6 on this evening's agenda is consideration of primary variances. The Board of Zoning Appeals is a quasi-judicial board comprised of resident volunteers of the City of Milton. The board is charged with hearing requests for variances from the standards of the zoning ordinance and appeals of administrative determination. With regard to the decisions on primary variances, the board's basis for decision is provided by these 4 considerations. A, relief if granted would not offend the spirit or intent of the ordinance, and B, there are some such extraordinary and exceptional situations or conditions pertaining to the particular piece of property that the literal or strict application of the ordinance would create an unnecessary hardship due to size, shape, topography, or other extraordinary and exceptional situations or conditions not caused by the variance applicant. And C, relief if granted would not cause a substantial detriment to the public good and surrounding properties. And D, that the public safety, health, and welfare are secured and that substantial justice is done. The first primary variance this evening is V23-16, 14745 Wood Road. This is a 2-part variance. Michael, will you please present?
Good evening.
Hey there.
Evening.
The address is 14745 Wood Road, and the applicant is seeking the following variances. Part 1, to allow an existing barn to encroach into the 100-foot building setback for housing animals by 98.9 feet adjacent to the north property line and 77.6 feet to the east property line, section 64-415A4A. Part 2, to allow an existing barn to encroach in the 150-foot building setback for housing animals for an occupied structure on an adjacent property by 82 feet, adjacent to the north property line, section 64-415A4A. The site is a 2.97 acre parcel located on the east side of Wood Road. The property is zoned AG1 and located in the rural Milton overlay district. Applicable setbacks for the lot are a 60-foot front, 3 25-foot sides, due to its unique flag shape and a 50-foot rear. The property borders AG1 zoning to the south, west, and north, while also bordering CUP zoning, developed as White Column subdivision to the east and northeast. After creating the aerial map for the September BZA staff report that also showed bordering property owners, it came to city staff's attention that an occupied structure was located less than 150 feet from the existing barn housing animals. The applicant is back before the Board of Zoning Appeals requesting to allow an existing barn to encroach into the 100-foot building setback for housing animals by 98.9 feet adjacent to the north property line and 77.6 feet to the east property line, and to allow an existing barn to encroach into the 150-foot building setback for housing animals for an occupied structure on adjacent property by 82 feet adjacent to the north property line. The site plan details the size of the property is 2.97 acres with a depth of 678 feet and width of 436 feet, as shown in Exhibit A. Wood Road is a gravel road which requires 3-acre minimum lot size, and the property is legal nonconforming when in reference to 3-acre minimum. The occupied structure, 699 Glen Arbor Drive, which I have here highlighted in blue, is located in the White Column subdivision. The primary, this is 68 feet from the barn housing animals, and this house was built in 2002. The property contains 3 non-compliant structures that do not meet setbacks that the existing property incorporation in the city. The property includes 1 barn housing animals and 2 shed accessory structures. The primary single-family home was built in 1976. The barn and 2 sheds were believed to be built in the 1980s per correspondence from the applicant, and setback variances were granted for both the accessory structures Shed A and Shed B at the September 19th BZA meeting. The adjacent neighbor map is shown in Exhibit B, showing support from 14680, 14700, 14725, 14735, 14750, and 14770 Wood Road. And here's the cover letter sent to the neighbors. And here are the letters of support. Here's a view to the west and east, a view to the south where the horse riding is located, and a view to the north. Here's a view from the street. View from the driveway just inside the entrance. And a view towards the north showing the driveway and the existing horse fence. A slightly more northwest direction showing the horse fence and horse. View to the south showing the pasture land and horse fence. Here's a view of Shed A, which received a variance at the September meeting. And Shed B was also received setback variances at the September BZA meeting. And a picture of the original shed. Here's a view of the barn housing animals. And a side view showing the barn in Shed B. On October 3rd, the DRB met and had the following comments. The DRB recommends approval of the variance requests and echoed similar but less in-depth comments from the September 12th DRB meeting. The DRB acknowledged that if the barn was ever to be rebuilt, it was important to have the materials and finishes be cohesive with the other structures on the property, and the DRB recommended the following condition. If the barn is rebuilt, the barn shall be rebuilt with similar materials to other structures on the property, and this is the staff recommended conditions if approved. Per the variance site plan from Brumble Reese and Associates received on September 5th, 2023 by the Community Development Department. Any questions for staff?
We had a couple of questions for you, Michael. There was a lot of information that you covered in your presentation, but I think there's 2 important dates. Can you clarify the date that the barn was constructed or the approximate time?
So the applicant believes the barn was built in the 1980s.
Okay. And then the home in White Columns that is,
2002
That's
for the full
2002.
county property records.
okay, so that's a little over a decade that the barn was there before the home was constructed, and then we're another decade or two past that at this point. The
Correct.
other question I have for you, in the past 6 months or so, have there been any specific code violations that were filed specifically to this structure?
Yeah, we've received no complaints
Nothing,
or
okay.
anything from the public in that time.
Thank you.
So the shed was what was being, the shed was what was being done, put back to, or fixed or maintained from our last hearing?
Correct, yeah. Shed A, which is
Okay,
red.
which is
Yeah,
behind the barn?
correct, yes.
And so nothing has been done to the barn. It's just, it was, when we brought that into compliance, the barn, it was noticed that it was 150 feet. Okay,
Correct,
got
yes.
it. Right. Thank you.
I was just wondering, you did bring up in the write-up that even though it's minuscule, that it doesn't reach the 3-acre minimum. Is there going to be like an administrative variance approval on that, or should we add that in just to make sure everything's okay? I mean, I know it's ridiculously small amount, but you did bring it up here,
Yeah.
so maybe we can add it as a condition. I don't know how we would do that, but
You actually can't seek a variance, so minimum lot size. So you guys couldn't even grant any type of relief
you
to
can't
that.
seek a variance?
Correct, the minimum lot size, you cannot. And we discussed it internally with the zoning manager and ComDev director.
So
It's a legal non-conforming lot, even though it's
Okay.
1,000 square feet.
So nothing needs to be done.
Correct, yeah, predated the city.
Okay, thanks.
Any additional questions for staff? Good, Adam.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it. We'll have a combined 10 minutes for the applicant to make an opening presentation, public comment from anyone wishing to speak in favor, and a closing statement from the applicant. The applicant, please come forward and state your name and address for the record.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I'm Scott Reese with Brumlow Reese and Associates, doing business at 13685 Highway 9, Milton, Georgia, 30004. Here tonight representing the Kua family and their application for a variance to allow a structure housing animals to remain. I think probably the most important part of this is what this variance would not allow. It would not allow this structure to be changed from its footprint in any form and/or fashion. What this variance would allow is when standard maintenance will have to occur, and it's not a matter of if it will occur, but when. It's already 40 years old. To answer one of your questions from earlier, we have aerial photographs from 1983 that show this structure. That's as far back as we can go and distinguish the structure. So it has been there for 40 years. And the surrounding subdivision houses were placed in 2002, 2003, so approximately 20 years after. And that property line was adjusted to allow that subdivision. So there was a lot of moving parts that went into that. So the reason we're here is we have an existing non-conforming structure, and everything was fine until one of the buildings dilapidated to the point that it required maintenance. And that maintenance triggered this situation because it was not just a simple cosmetic, replace a couple of boards or paint. It was structural where a leak had occurred in the roof, and it triggered this situation. So we need a variance to bring this into compliance when, if you notice one of the pictures, the roof, the tin is beginning to show some signs of aging. It may last another 25 or 30 years, but eventually routine maintenance will have to occur to this structure, and the owner would like to be able to maintain the structure, and I'm sure the surrounding neighbors would too, in a non-dilapidated state. So that being said, the structure's been there for 40 years. The surrounding neighborhood was built after the fact. This
division was approved by Fulton County with all of the structures in place. There's a recorded plat that shows these structures. It's in your packet. And so everything was compliant, but then changing rules and regs, the creation of the city made these non-compliant. Everything was fine until routine maintenance, and that kicked in. So that being said, back to answer another question, the reason this lot is less than 3 acres is there was an additional right-of-way take on Wood Road. It was more than 3 acres, but Fulton County required for some maintenance or an easement, something along the line. So they took additional. Wood Road was originally a 30-foot prescriptive right-of-way, and you'll see that this parcel had to give up 30 feet from the center of the road. So that took it below the 3 acre threshold. It was a government forced taking, for lack of a better term. So I think you get a good picture. We've had a pre-existing structure that was compliant, change in from a unincorporated Fulton County, the city of Milton, updated rules and regulations to be just handle standard maintenance. We need this variance to bring it into compliance. Once again, the structure, there is no plan to change or do anything to it. That would require, this variance would not allow that. It can't change the footprint of the structure, only routine maintenance. If you have any questions, we will try to answer those at this time. Thank you.
Mr. Reese, DRB had a recommendation that if the barn was to be rebuilt, that it should be rebuilt with materials similar to the other structures on the property. If for some reason that condition was added, what are your thoughts on that?
We have 3 different existing structures with 3 different materials. I would rather it be materials of the existing to not change. I think that would be less of a shock to the neighbors that you can't change the materials that it's made out of. It's got a metal roof and the siding. So if the house has hardy siding on it and 5 years from now that hardy's out of business, I mean, how technical are we going to go into that? So I just think there should be a broader definition in there that materials similar to its existing construction, I think would be not to tell DRB their business. I think that would be a more encompassing addition.
That kind of was my question. I mean, I'm on the fence about it, even thinking that would be relevant, just because what if you had wood siding and then what if you wanted to build it out of timbers, stained timbers as opposed to siding? It might be better ultimately and stronger and more secure and look better, but we wouldn't be able to do that if you put a condition like this on there. I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence. I think that.
I agree.
I mean, I would say that answer makes more sense. I mean, Scott, you're more familiar with barns. These are, what do you think?
Typically, you're going to, in this, you're going to have either wood or a cement siding. The Hardy is the most readily branded name, but something along, not to get too ag-centric on you, horse's crib. Ms. Bentley can describe that to you. It's a chewing of certain materials. You have to be very careful with the material. I think it would be best, and she's more of an equestrian than I am, but I have seen buildings that were built out of the raw material that were absolutely eaten. And I think that that should be more of a consideration, form rather than fashion. But Ms. Bentley, if you could opine.
I agree, especially if this property turns over. Someone that wants to keep it an equestrian property in that limitation, I don't know, it would just, it would be limiting.
I would almost be more concerned about the color. If the color is that faded red, that would be more in line. A garish color as opposed to material would be much more disturbing if I was next door. I know I've been way around. I just really like to hear myself speak. So
I don't have any questions.
Any other questions for the applicant? Mr. Reese, if you want to hang on for 1 second. Michael, do we have anyone else wishing to speak in support?
No public comment.
Okay, either for or in opposition?
Correct.
Okay. Mr. Reese, if you'd like to make any closing statements, you're welcome to do so.
I think I hopefully stated the case well. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for staff before I close the public portion of this application? We'll close the public portion for V 23-1614745 Wood Road. I'd like to make a motion to approve this variant, two-part variance with one condition per the site plan from Brumbelow Reese and Associates, Inc., received on September 5th, 2023 by the Community Development Department.
I'll second.
Got a motion from Hodge, a second from David, to approve the two-part variance for V 23-16 with the site plan dated, I believe it was September 5th, 2023. I'll take since I made the motion, I'll go ahead and kind of walk through the considerations. Look at it, that the barn was built in the 1980s. The applicant stated, I think 1983 during the presentation. And so that was well before the city was formed. It's also well in advance of the home being built, which was in 2002. We're almost 2 decades past that in 2023 from when the home was built. So if there was an issue with the existing condition of that barn being in that location, it would have come up, I think, sooner. It doesn't appear that that was the case. In approving the variance, I don't believe will have any negative impact on the safety, health, and welfare because it's been there for such a long time.
And I agree too. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No. I mean, I agree. I mean, they built this community right next to it. It was something they clearly could have worked around if they didn't want a property line that close to a barn housing animals. I think all the standards have been met.
One other thing that I wanted to add is there was a DRB recommendation to put some limitations on the barn. I don't think we need to be doing that. But the materials that are there, they're probably going to keep something somewhat similar to it.
I think you're right. I don't think we should impose our lack of expertise on, I mean, there are different breeds of horses that, how big they are, how they reach their heads out the window and what they can get to chew up. It's something that the homeowner needs to consider and have that flexibility. I agree. I also was just going to add that, when you have an existing structure like this that's there and has been adapted to for 40 years, that's, for me, it's quite different from an application that comes in as a new structure that, given the popularity of Milton now, that we do have control over the intensity of uses, and this has been here, so.
Yes, I have a quick question for probably you, Paul. In granting this variance, if it were a situation where they had to do substantial maintenance, obviously they can do that, but that would entail getting permitting at a certain point if it was substantial to an extent, right? Over a certain degree or percentage.
60.
Is that right?
I mean, the building code requirements.
Yeah, it'd be interpretation
that-
of the ComDev director, 60%.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, no matter what, I mean, they would have to go in for a building permit at 60%. So this is just keeping it where it is at this point.
Right, yeah, because it's 40 years old, as
Yeah.
Scott pointed out.
Yeah, I was just going to make a comment that this seems to me a case where there should have been some kind of administrative approval of this whole thing. I don't know, it just, whoever's listening, I don't know who has the right to address this kind of thing, whether it's the city council or what, but, a lot of time and effort on the staff's part. Everybody else, us, we don't put much time in on this, but, we put our time in. If it hadn't not been that this person tried to repair their shed, none of this would have come up. And it just seems to me like excessive amount of time has been spent on something that seems to me could have been administratively approved. But that's just my feeling, and I wanted to kind of make that known.
I agree with you.
And any other discussion points? Seeing that there's no further points of discussion on V23-16-14745 Wood Road with a two-part variance. Motion was by Hodge and the second was by David. With one condition, per the variance site plan from Brumbelow Reese and Associates received on September 5th, 2023 by the Community Development Department. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. The second variance this evening is V23-173144 Watson's Bend. Michael, will you please present?
The address is 3144 Watson Bend, and the applicant is requesting the following variance: to allow the lot coverage for an AG1 zone property that fronts a private street to increase from a maximum allowed 25% to 26.24%. The site is a 1.168 acre parcel located in the Manor subdivision as shown in Exhibit A. The property is zoned AG1 and located in the rural Milton overlay district. Applicable setbacks for the lot are a 60-foot front, two 25-foot sides, and a 50-foot rear. However, the Manor Golf Course easement, which is located in the rear of the property, engulfs the 50-foot rear setback. And here's a shot showing the Manor subdivision, and I highlighted in yellow. And you can really, this is a good visual to see the golf course easement and the surrounding properties as well, how much they take up for the lots. And here's the specific golf court easement for the property, right here in the back, which totals 325 square feet. And here's a line for the golf course easement. So really, we're looking at close to a third, maybe a little bit more of the property is in that. The 1.16 acre parcel has a depth of 486 feet and a width of 204 feet, as shown in the as-built survey. There's a golf course easement, as I pointed out, which is 325 square feet, located in the rear of the property. The applicant bought the property in 2011, and the original house was built in 2006. The existing home predates the city of Milton's maximum lot coverage requirement for residential properties located in the rural Milton overlay district, and this requirement began in the year 2012. The applicant is seeking a variance to allow the lot coverage for an AG1 zone property that fronts a private street to increase from a maximum allowed 25% to 26.24% for proposed pool and pool decking. The applicant originally proposed a 30.9% lot coverage site plan through the community development building permit process before reducing the variance request to 27.77% lot coverage as shown in Exhibit C. Here's the zoom in version of that. City staff met with the applicant on August 22nd, 2023, and recommended a further reduction of impervious surface. The applicant decided to move forward with the 27.77 lot coverage variance request and officially submitted their variance request on September 5th, 2023. Staff recommended a further reduction in impervious surface to the design review board on October 3rd, as shown in Exhibit D, which reduced the total lot coverage percentage from 27.77 to 26.3%, which is a total reduction of 751 square feet on site. The proposed staff recommendation, which is shown on the right, reduced the pool decking by 655 square feet and the pool surface water by 96 square feet. Design Review Board recommended approval of the 26.3% lot coverage variance request at the October 3rd meeting. The applicant resubmitted a revised site plan on October 9th detailing 26.24 lot coverage as shown in Exhibit E. The applicant reduced the pool decking by 722 square feet and the pool service water area by 68 square feet. The applicant is also proposing the addition of permeable synthetic turf, which does not count towards lot coverage totals. And here's some details from the synthetic turf that the development engineer also took a look at. And he'll do his full analysis during the building permit review if this is approved. Here's the adjacent neighbor map showing support from 312 and 3164 Watson Bend. Letters of support that are in your packet. And I also want to mention we received a letter of support from the Manor HOA this evening, and those are actually on the dais, so we provided those as well. Here's support from the HOA. Originally, this is the correspondence we had from the HOA from the applicant, and we requested something more official, and they provided that. Here's a view to the north facing the golf course. And I think the golf court from the side visit, the easement, follow my hand, is like back here, buried behind the hill. So it just shows you the depth of how far away that golf cart path is. And here's a view to the south across the street. The view to the east and west. View of the rear of the property. And here's a view from the driveway. This really shows the steepness of the front yard. So during the site visit, the applicant informed staff that the playground and trampoline would be removed, as those would be counted towards their lot coverage totals. And here's a blow up showing the synthetic turf, if you want to see more details on that. On October 3rd, the DRB event had the following comments. The DRB recommends approval of the variance request with a maximum of 26.3 total lot coverage. The board acknowledged that the lot is more squeezed than a typical Milton lot, as around 1/3 of the lot is a golf course easement. The board inquired if the applicant was comfortable moving forward with the staff recommendation of 26.3% lot coverage. The applicant replied if the pool decking and pool layout could be modified to accommodate the 26.3% total lot coverage, then yes, the applicant supported the 26.3 recommendation. One board member recommended looking into synthetic turf, as this service does not count towards lot coverage totals. Staff recommended conditions if approved. Per the variance site plan from Georgia Classic Pools received on October 10th, 2023 by the Community Development Department, and water quality treatment to be provided for all new impervious services as determined by the city development engineer through the permitting process. Any questions for staff?
Yeah, Michael, is this property connected to public sewer?
That is correct. Yes, the
Okay.
manor's on sewer.
Okay.
Mhm.
The location of septic fields does not apply in this situation.
So is the 26%, is that the lot coverage without the easement?
No, it includes the easement.
Oh, okay.
If you took out the golf cart easement, it'd be 25.6%.
So they have to count the golf cart path that they have no control over.
That is correct.
Okay.
Let me put this hypothetical out there. This application gets approved and Manor wants to widen their golf cart path. Would they have to come back for another variance because they're over the threshold? I think I'm understanding that.
That's a good question.
Somebody would,
Okay.
and it may be a matter of the applicant property owner being able to respond to the manor saying, you can't do that legally. So
Right.
then but if they were willing to allow it, they might
Okay.
might agree to go forward and support the manor's request. I wouldn't necessarily make it the obligation of the
Sure.
property owner, but they would certainly have to support it if it went forward.
Yeah,
Thanks,
I think
Paul.
it would have to have some sort of cleanup, whether it be a variance or something
new course rules. You have to have two-way.
Any other questions for Michael? Thank you, Michael. Appreciate it.
Sorry, Michael, you said right now it's 20.63 maximum total lot as applied. However, if the cart path was not counted towards the property, it would be 25.6% lot coverage.
So yeah, so 26.3, and if you subtract the cart path, the 325 square feet, then it gets you down to 25.6.
Gotcha.
We'll have a combined 10 minutes for the applicant to make a presentation for public comment from anyone wishing to speak in favor, and a closing statement from the applicant. There will also be 10 minutes for public comment for anyone wishing to speak in opposition. If the applicant would like to come forward at this time and present their application, appreciate it. And can you state your name and address for the record, please?
Yes. Good evening. My name is Ashley Barton. I'm with Georgia Classic Pool. Our address is 1301 Iron Mountain Road. I'm here on behalf of the the homeowner at 3144 Watson's Bend. I think Michael pretty much detailed everything out for us. We have been working on this for a while. Our initial design was at 30%, found out or discovered in permitting that we were way over. So we have been working with staff to decrease it down. So with our 26.24% now, I think our biggest hardship that's putting us over that is that golf course path that we really have no control over. But we have greatly diminished the plan to work and get to this point. Our original plan had massive amounts of pool deck, fire pits, stone steppers, everything. And so now we've worked with staff and homeowners to get that design down to just the pool, small bits of pool deck in there, and then the turf, which won't count. So, and then as he mentioned, the water quality, the rain garden to mitigate for that increase in lot coverage.
Question for you. In terms of ingress, egress during construction, how do you plan on getting the equipment back there? Do you see any challenges with the adjacent property owners and the terrain sloping at all?
No, talking with the designer.
Michael, can you put the site plan up so she can kind of reference that? Thanks.
No, we've definitely worked in the manor a lot. We will do whatever we need to. We work with the site development inspector out in the field to create a construction entrance, whether he wants pallets of just plywood or if he wants gravel. We'll do whatever the city wants us to do to get up there, but we don't see any issue in getting up to the back of the property.
So would you be ingressing, egressing through the driveway or?
Correct.
From the, okay,
Yeah.
through the driveway. And then in Michael's presentation, he had mentioned the trampoline and play set. Is the intent to remove that permanently?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think initially we were aware that it would be considered lot coverage, but after discussing that, we were told, so they'll plan to remove that.
Michael, can you clarify, it's not on the plan, is it? The trampoline?
Correct. Yeah, I discovered it during the site visit.
Okay.
And
Any other questions for the applicant?
Roughly, does somebody have the number? How much are we talking about roughly that this 1.3% is over? I guess I don't have a calculator, but I mean, it's got to be very small, right?
How much
How many square feet is this?
square footage we're over?
It's over by 1.3% of the lot, right?
I'll zoom in right
I mean,
here. Oh, yes, this
I don't think we're talking about much here.
Not even, I mean,
It's,
it's less than that,
our
it's 1.24%.
Our current proposal is 1,300, so 1,320 square foot is what we're proposing.
That's 1.3%?
That's not one, I'm sorry, that's our total request. So I guess I just would need to calculate that. Our
It's
total-
not really that important, but trying to get a sense of, this isn't very much square footage we're talking about.
Right, it's
Here,
995, I think. If you take off the golf cart path, which is 325.
all right, that's fine, thank you.
Any additional questions for the applicant? Thanks, Ms. Barton. If you want to hang on for 1 second. Michael, do we have anyone wishing to speak in favor or in opposition?
We do not.
Thank you. Ms. Barton, if you'd like to make any closing remarks, you're welcome to do so at this time.
I think I'm good. Thank you.
Thanks, appreciate it. Any questions for staff or for the city attorney?
I just have, I know we've talked about this many times before, but wasn't there some percentage that you had leeway to approve this on your own staff? I'm looking at, we've talked about in the past where I remember she was saying something like if it was in like 1% or something like that.
I think
those are
that has,
setbacks.
I think that has to do with setbacks. How many feet into
I thought it had to do with
setbacks.
lot coverage.
It's only setbacks. Yeah. And
It's only setback, no
Correct.
administrative, okay. all right.
yes.
My bad. All right, thanks. I
So
was hoping.
why does the city want them to get rid of the playground and the trampoline?
Well, they could keep it, but they'd have to count it towards their lot coverage totals. And they just felt, from talking to the applicant, the swing set's going to go where the pool is. So I didn't campaign one way or the other, but just it have to be counted towards the totals.
I don't like that.
I don't understand that necessarily, but
I'll close the, do you have any additional questions?
No.
Okay. I'll close the public portion of V23-17, 3144 Watson's Bend, and open the floor for a motion in a second.
I'd like to make a motion to approve V 23-17 to allow the lot coverage for an AG1 zone property that fronts a private street to increase from a maximum allowed of 25% to 26.24 with the staff recommended conditions per the variant site plan from Georgia Classic Pools received on October 10th, 2023 by the Community Development Director. Second condition is the water quality treatment to be provided for all new impervious surfaces as determined by the city development engineer through the permitting process.
Second.
sorry, real quick. Is there a reason that it's 26.3 and not 26.24 in the write-up, or is that just you rounding off? Or is there margin of error there?
They changed it.
Yeah, we changed it to 26, it says 26.24 in the requested variance.
They came back.
Is it on there?
Yeah, they came
Okay.
back from 26.3 down to
Okay.
20.
Yeah, they
They
proposed
further
less than
reduced it
what
with
we
the
recommended.
turf.
Gotcha. Okay.
So my, do you want me to comment?
Let me just restate the motion. So we had a motion from Laura on V23-17 with two conditions, a motion from Laura, a second from Hodge, with two conditions per the variance site plan from Georgia Classic Pools received on October 10th, 2023 by the Community Development Department. And then the second condition was a water quality treatment to be provided for all new impervious surfaces as determined by the city development engineer through the permitting process. Laura, you want to go ahead with your discussion?
Yeah, I just wanted to go through the variance criteria. The first, relief if granted would not offend the spirit of the ordinance. The applicant bought that property in 2011 with the lot coverage requirements going in with the rural Milton overlay in 2012. Extraordinary and exceptional situations. I do find this golf cart path something that is impactful to the lot coverage and can certainly see that as a hardship. Relief, if granted, would not cause substantial detriment to the good of the surrounding properties. It's always helpful to have the immediately adjacent property owners supporting the variances, and you've certainly got those folks to speak up. And then finally, the rain garden on the public safety and health and welfare is secured. Nice to see the rain garden and the turf that you chose, as well as staff recommended conditions on water quality and the site plan, checking on that it goes in as planned.
My comments echo what Laura had just stated.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I just think I think there's an extraordinary issue with the cart path there and the easement that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But I know we have to count it, and I think it's reasonable under the circumstances.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote on V 23-173144 Watson's Bend to allow lot coverage for an AG1 zone property that fronts a private street to increase from a maximum allowed of 25% to 26.24% with two conditions. The first condition being that per the variance site plan from Georgia Classic Pools received on October 10th, 2023 by the Community Development Department. And then the second condition is water quality treatment to be provided for all new impervious surfaces as determined by the city development engineer through the permitting process. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you and continue to work with the city staff. Item 7 on our agenda this evening is consideration of appeals and secondary variances.
None?
Item 8 is old business,
Also none?
and item 9 is new business.
Yes, so do you guys have a copy of the draft calendar? I can throw on the overhead too, if you guys want to see it.
No,
Yeah,
Don't
throw it up
have
there.
it.
Why not?
I'm going to take a picture of it,
You
though.
got it.
Here you go. You don't have yours.
Get left out every now and then.
Yes. So here's the draft calendar for your review. And I think the last two dates are where we kind of need your opinion on if you want more time around the holidays in November or December. So I kind of left those two dates open-ended and love to hear your feedback.
So my thought is the 12th is good for Thanksgiving week. I think for week of Christmas, we should probably move that up to the 17th.
Which one? That's what I'm trying to look
December.
at my calendar to see when that comes up. That's next year.
I believe Christmas will be on a Friday,
I
so
was trying
either
to see.
Friday or Saturday.
So on 24, the 25th is a Wednesday, as a
Wednesday.
matter of fact. And the 17th would be a week and a day before Christmas. The 10th would be pretty much 2 weeks before Christmas.
Yeah, so the 17th for December, is that what yeah, December 17th is what I was thinking.
I mean, I would be fine either way on that one.
The reason I was thinking this-
Thanksgiving is the 28th of November, so.
The reason I was
again,
thinking the
something-
17th, it gives the applicant time between design review board and when they come to us. If DRB asks for any revisions, it gives them time to take care of that. Versus if we push it up.
And what about, November date, the 19th? Is that what y'all are looking at?
November was the 12th.
Yeah, I think the Thanksgiving is on the 28th. Is that what we have?
Yeah, we
Is it
could
the
do the
28th?
19th
We could do
and
the
that would
19th.
work. Bill, does that
Okay.
make sense to y'all?
Yeah, I don't know why we'd have to move that up to the 12th.
Yeah,
19th sounds fine, doesn't it? No?
yeah. I think
Yeah.
the 19th is
Yep.
fine in November. And what about December?
I think 17th is good.
Okay, so we said the 19th and the 17th. A couple questions for you on this. We're setting it now, but if something were to change and we needed to adjust the calendar, certainly well in advance of the actual meeting, are we able to do that as a board?
Yes.
We are, okay. As long as there's advance notice on it. Just not the day of, right?
Yes.
And then I think the other thing we looked at was in April, there's generally spring break that happens, but I think we've probably cleared that. I don't know,
It's the first week of April.
first week of April.
Yeah, so if you look at
we're not till the
DRB,
16th.
Okay.
yeah, if you look at DRB, a little star, those are moved up
Okay.
because of, I believe Labor Day, and then we have spring break. But BZA, we didn't have to change.
Do we need to make a motion to adopt it, or?
Technically, according to your bylaws, you need to adopt it at the last meeting
Okay,
of the year. So you
Okay.
actually have a couple to, this was a think about it, but you've thought about it.
Yep.
You're ready to go in December.
Okay.
What is in the funnel? Do we have do we have agendas? Are we meeting in November and December?
Yes, just one item in November and
Okay.
nothing official for December yet.
Nothing in.
Except for the calendar.
Except for the.
So we would.
That's right.
So could we
We'll-
do that in December, November?
No, yeah, I think we could definitely just make it November item.
Well,
I don't know, not according to the
According to the
bylaws.
bylaws.
Be serious. Okay.
Oh, yeah. He's
what did you
serious.
say? Is it the last meeting of the year? If we don't have a December meeting,
Yeah, I thought that was
does
the deadline.
November
The first-
constitute the last meeting?
We may be able to.
Can we,
It says
can
the
we
last
change the
Regular
bylaws?
meeting of the
Yeah, we
calendar
can.
year.
That would
It
be
doesn't
cool.
say scheduled, so we might be able to. If
Okay.
we know in November that there won't be a meeting in December, I'd be okay with.
You would not
Okay.
want to come for us to vote
Yeah.
on one.
And you'll know by what, a couple weeks beforehand, right?
Right, yeah. The first Tuesday is always the deadline, so we'll know because we don't have to public advertise the calendar, correct, Paul?
What's that?
We don't have to public advertise the calendar, so we don't have to follow advertisement requirements. We're fine. Yeah, we'll know.
okay.
Perfect.
So is there anything in the pipeline that you think that might be submitted for December at this point? Or?
We've had 2 pre-application meetings that have not submitted.
Okay,
Sometimes that's the next month, sometimes that's 4 or 5. So it's really hard to,
okay.
I would land on yes, based off half, previous.
And I have a question. Did you give an update on the baby?
No.
Yeah, so this Saturday is likely the time I'll be a first-time dad.
Nice.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
So we're happy that you're here, but we're
Yes.
excited that you
So is
you made
Emily.
the meeting.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, no, I don't think it'll work out. We'll be back in November, so not going to miss anything with you guys. Won't have it.
Take some time off.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Item 10 on our agenda this evening is adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We had a motion from Adam and a second from Laura to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.